We will now move on to item number 27 of general business, which is extended producer responsibility for the safe collection of unwanted pharmaceuticals and spent hypodermic needles. This comes from Public Works. Good afternoon.
And I'm here to present the Senate producer responsibility.
And if you could speak a little closer to the mic, please.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm here to present the Senate producer responsibility ordinance for your approval to put into the city ordinance. This ordinance has been drafted based on experiences that have been tested and validated all the way to the Supreme Court, initiated by Alameda County. In our specific case, in the history of Santa Cruz, our efforts to control unwanted pharmaceuticals stemmed initially from the knowledge of the fact that the wastewater treatment facility is unable to effectively remove unwanted pharmaceuticals flushed from homes and hospitals, and therefore were having adverse consequences on wildlife. And this experience is not unique to Santa Cruz, and it is shared universally among conventional wastewater treatment facilities. We started that program in October 2007. That program was adopted by the county in 2008, and it morphed into a program that also included the collection of sharps. These are hypodermic needles. These initially were collected to prevent the exposure of city workers from these were added on to prevent exposure of city workers and, of course, county workers once the county signed onto the program. And increasingly, we learned that hypodermic syringes were also being found in walkways, in parks, and in the streets of the community. So it felt that it was important to add that to the pharmaceuticals, which hypodermic needles are also used to deliver. So that was the genesis of the program in the city, and this ordinance, which now transfers the responsibility for funding the safe and responsible collection to the big manufacturers, is our attempt to share the responsibility with them. In doing this, we're shifting from a model that put all the onus on the community, on the municipality, to serve the public welfare. We're sharing that now with the manufacturers so that at the end of the product's life cycle, they now contain their products and pay for the disposal of the products. And I've submitted a staff report. I hope you've read it, and I'm willing to answer questions.
Thank you very much. Are there questions? David.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about, in the city's role, the responsibility for conducting the producer outreach and education program. How do we plan on going out to the vendors to make sure they're aware of this responsibility?
What we currently do is we communicate with the vendors. We have, as I said, since 2007, we have a program in place with which we work with them. So we just morph the language of our communication now to telling them that they have a responsibility that's no longer ours. We still fund just under $10,000 a year for the vaults and other instruments of collection and communicating. But now we're going to shift that burden to them. They were already in the pipeline in terms of communication, but now their responsibility is different.
John?
Just a quick, I noticed that the what's proposed says that, I'm just reading, sharps disposal containers will be required with all local sales of hypodermic needles. So that's not the case now?
Unfortunately, that's not the case now. We had a false start around 2008 on that issue. We had wanted, the Public Works Department had a staff person who was working on collecting she was working on getting the sharp containers subsidized at the point of sale. And she retired, and we haven't continued that program.
Thank you.
Other questions? It's my understanding also that this is consistent with the county ordinance.
Yes, it is.
We're looking for consistency in our broader
absolutely.
community. Yeah.
It's absolutely consistent.
Micah?
I just want to make sure I totally understand it. I was a little confused about the language about the manufacturers of the pharmaceuticals and syringes. I just want to make sure I understand that the way it will look to us is that the stores that sell them will be responsible, and I understand there may be some kind of relationship or cost sharing with the producers, but from our sort of on the ground perspective, it just means the stores that sell syringes and pharmaceuticals will have to clearly accept them for disposal. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
We would not be party to the negotiations with their manufacturers, but of course, if they fail, we have the tools at hand to penalize them, including federal law, to do that.
Super. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no further questions from council, I'll open it to the public for comment. This is your time. Please come forward.
Hello, I'm Nathan Kennedy, and what I have to say about all this is we need ways for people to safely dispose of their needles. We need to have needle disposal boxes in all the public restrooms. It's important. We should have them in the porta potties. There's pretty much only one, but we need more of them. But simply put, I don't want to go into a porta potty or a bathroom, sit down, feel a prick, look over, realize that somebody's discarded needle was there, and get who knows what kind of crazy disease off it. This is not about encouraging drug use or showing any support for the drug use itself. It's about public safety. We've got to give people clear, easy ways to get rid of their contraband. And I think there's one out in front of the courthouse. There's one out by Emmeline. Big boxes, big red boxes. They're for needle disposal. We need more of those, and I'd say even have some up on the levee, because like it or not, people are going to do drugs. It's that simple, and they're going to do a lot of the worst drugs you can imagine, and I shouldn't have to be responsible for picking up a needle, and we need a place for it to be disposed of properly in all public restrooms. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Then we'll bring it back for action. Micah.
I agree with the comments of Council Candidate Kennedy that we should increase public receptacles for syringes because that way, we'll get less syringes left laying around. And I view this as kind of a separate issue. I view this as a step forward kind of in that direction, in that, a large quantity of these syringes do come from these pharmacies. And so if we can really make it clear that clearly able to dispose of syringes and other pharmaceuticals, which are really important, as Aiken mentioned, because of the way it affects wildlife and water supply, that, sort of aside from that public restroom discussion, that this is really progress, and I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the staff has worked really hard to make it happen. I'm very pleased to support the proposal. I just also want to take a minute to call out, I know a lot of us have been wondering over the years, because it was voluntary and we're trying to get them to do whatever. I just want to give an appreciation to one of our really local pharmacies, Walgreens, which has really in the last few years really stepped forward, and on a voluntary basis they do easily and cheerfully accept syringes and pharmaceuticals already. So I just want to kind of appreciate that team spirit that they showed in that way.
Okay. Don?
I'm prepared to move
Please
the
do.
recommended action.
Second.
And I just wanted to comment that, a lot of the time, I'm not making a judgment one way or the other on this, but I know a lot of people in the community sort of see the syringe exchange program as sort of the source of all syringes in this community, and that is not even close to the case. That, in fact, pharmacies all over town are also a source of syringes, and I think it's really important that these pharmacies play a role also in in taking responsibility for those being collected. I know no single action here is that the city can do will eliminate the problem, but this is another piece of something that a local community can do to reduce the number that we see in our community.
Great. Rochelle, did you want to comment?
No.
Okay. Thank you. I just agree. Location of sharps containers is one thing. That's not the issue here. This is support for manufacturer responsibility for disposal. I do want to comment that not all syringes are necessarily contraband. They're totally legitimate medical applications. And we're especially happy to have a proposal that has already been tested in the courts. So with that, I'm happy also to support it. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. So that carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, we had 2 seconds on that. Would you like to choose one?
Naroyan? Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, well,
I think I mentioned, yeah.
we kind of tied, I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's okay.
Okay, moving on. We are back to a public hearing, and